So we all know what a young adult film is, but we've seen them before continuously on the screen in films such as The Hunger Games and the Maze Runner series. Same goes for Marvel. We may not have necessarily seen them, but we have heard of them, including films such as the Avengers series and Captain America. But what makes these films successful? Is there a reason for this all? Why are young adult films and Marvel films so successful? So we all know what a young adult film is. It started off with Harry Potter in the early 2000s, which kicked off the young adult film franchise. Young adult books was started much before any films had come about in the books such as The Giver, which came out in the early 90s, but it didn't kick off any young adult film franchise until the early 2000s, as I said, with Harry Potter and then Twilight and The Hunger Games. But young adult books, there's been so many young adult books not made into films. It sort of brings up the idea of, does this mean that young adult as a genre is a good genre to invest in? But as we've seen quite recently, we've had the Divergent series and the Maze Runner do relatively well at the cinema, except that they didn't make as much money as the Hunger Games did, which went into the billions. The Maze Runner and the Divergent series have been around $300 million per film, and in the second films of those respective series. So, does this mean that all young adult films are starting to go downhill because they aren't making as much money as the Hunger Games? Not necessarily. I think it's just more down to audience perception of the films and their understanding. So I'd say young adult as a genre for films, it's doing well, but you need to get the right film for it, and you want to get a film that's going to attract audiences to it and not want them to go and watch a different film. So considering Marvel films have started in the 1930s when it started as the comics themselves, but by the 60s they became the Marvel comics that we all know and love today, introducing us to characters such as the Fantastic Four. So, thinking of films, it introduced us to the Hulk films before the Marvel Cinematic Universe was creating characters such as Iron Man and Thor. So, as it's created the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it means that they've now allowed themselves to create much more characters that they can introduce all of the films that they have created, which does include the Avengers series itself and the Captain America films. So it means that they've got a whole load of characters they can use to make much more money for the Marvel company. So recently we've had the Avengers series, which has introduced us to a few more characters, but also introduced the idea of different story plot points, which is something that Marvel does build itself on when it has its own films. With Iron Man and Captain America, it always tends to leave some kind of thing in it would link to either the next film in the series or another film that's going to be separate to the one that's already on about. So what makes Marvel such a good genre to invest in? Well, I guess it could be something to do with the money that they spend on their films. It is quite a lot of money that they spend to get the films that they are how they are. But also, I think it's also down to the screenplays that they have, where they introduce quite a lot of inside jokes or jokes making fun of little tiny things. But also, I'd say, as well as the star power of films, with actors even such as Robert Downey Jr. and Scarlett Johansson, it brings a certain sense of fun, in a way, to the Marvel genre as a whole. So, considering reviews of both young adult films and Marvel films, I can say that they've been quite positive to common, but it's definitely a mix on how reviewers perceive both films from different genres that affects the reviews that are created. So, considering in film magazines such as Total Film and Empire, we can see that there's like a certain correlation between the reviews, which means that for Marvel films, it tends to really highlight the points of the jokes that they make and also the action sequences. But for young adult films, it tends to relate to the slightly generic plot point of love triangles and also the idea of teens saving the day. But considering the star ratings for both films in the different genres, I'd say that they are quite similar in the terms of that they both get around 3 stars as a common basis, whereas sometimes the Avengers films are more likely to get a 4 or a 5-star rating, as well as various other different Marvel films. But considering other review websites such as Cinema Blend and the Guardian website, you can see that it all depends on the person that is reviewing the films to create their review of the films. But sometimes it can be biased, but it doesn't really matter in the sense of people watching, listening to reviews, because not everyone that reads reviews will totally go, right, this person doesn't like the film, so that means that I'm not going to see it. That's not the point. People read it and then they go, okay, this is one person's opinion, but I have my own opinion, I'll go and see it for myself. So, considering reviews, I'd say the reviews for both young adult films and Marvel films are relatively good. So, thinking of it all now together, what does make young adult films and Marvel films so successful at the cinema? I think in a certain case it does come down to the star power of both genres, including actors for Marvel films such as Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, and then for the young adult films you have Jennifer Lawrence and Shailene Woodley for those films. But you can say that the star power definitely helps the Marvel films because we've recognised with actors even, and we all know films that they've been in before, and it is sometimes different to see them in a different role. But considering advertising for the films, I can safely say that Marvel films do get the much better promotion. I can say that there's a lot more adverts on TV and a lot more trailers online of them compared to young adult films, which might only release 3 full-length trailers or 2 slightly shorter length trailers to please the audiences. So, considering that and reviews, you can see that young adult films tend to be in a slightly different light to Marvel films, which I don't think is a major detriment to it, but it does certainly affect how much money the young adult film might make in the end compared to a Marvel film. However, I believe, in my own opinion, the Marvel films tend to be shot better film-wise and have a better quality of storyline compared to that of young adult film, as they all tend to be from a similar area, like in all young adult films tend to be from a dystopian future relating to a dystopian government that's trying to kill people. It all tends to be a bit the same, whereas Marvel does bring out the different points that you can use for the films, which I do think helps make Marvel better in relation to what's making them successful. But what does this mean for young adult films and Marvel films overall? What does make a young adult film and Marvel film so successful? So, bringing it all together, I can say that what makes young adult films successful is definitely the actors that they use in the films, but also how they represent teen people saving the day in a way. I think that's what makes that so successful as with the young adult film genre as a whole. But I don't think young adult films has a large future in a way, because recently a young adult film was released in January called Fifth Wave, and this film, it didn't really have a lot of promotion to it. There were hardly any trailers released, not a lot of posters around, and it wasn't really promoted well by the film company Sony, which sort of suggests that maybe some film producing companies are falling out of favour with young adult films. But I don't think this is going to be a very poignant thing in the future, because I think there will be different young adult films coming out that are going to change people's opinions on the young adult genre as a whole. But considering Marvel films, I would say that what makes them successful is the thing that they have a lot of quality put into their films. They really try their hardest to make a good film with a lot of fun jokes to get the audience laughing, so they have a good time, and then the film as a whole is a really good film to watch. I would say that their advertising promotion is way better than what young adult films will get anytime soon, and I think that that's possibly why Marvel is such a big company. They have the ability to do pretty much anything, which allows them to have a slight edge over young adult films. So, bringing everything together, I would say young adult films, there is a future for them, but I would certainly say that there has to be a change in what they produce, as they change it away from dystopian governments, dystopian futures and such on, but they really need to consider this before they can really make as much money as the Hunger Games did. So, bring them all together. What makes Young Adult films and Marvel films so successful? Wow, it's a lot of different factors, but that's all in my opinion. What makes it successful in your opinion? I don't know. That's down to you.